What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 10th Doctor David Tennant story, The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. This is a two-part story from Series 2, and it's a story that I've always had a bit of a soft spot for. It was my favourite story of all time at one point. It is not quite at that level now, but I mean, it's still in my top 5 for sure, and it's definitely a good story, a great two-parter for Series 2. So I was really looking forward to watching this one again and looking at it in a, kind of a review mindset. So yeah, let's get started with this one, starting with the cast. So we've got David Tennant as the 10th Doctor, and yeah, I mean, he's really good here. What can you say? He's my favourite Doctor, and he's very good here. One of the best episodes for him, in my opinion, especially for Series 2. I really like him here. Some great stuff with Rose, talking about how they're stuck, and, oh, he's going to have to go and get a mortgage and all this sort of stuff. That's all really funny stuff there. Has some great moments with Ida, when they're down next to the pit. Some awesome moments there. Just great little speech towards the end where he's talking to the Beast as well. I love that speech when he's talking about, figuring out what the Beast is and what's happened here. And then he has his little speech about, Rose, like, I believe in her. That's a great speech as well. And altogether, David Tennant is just on top form as usual in this episode. You've also got Billie Piper as Rose Tyler, and yeah, she's pretty good here as well. There's a little bit of lovey-dovey stuff going on here. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the start of it, but, it's kind of already been going a little bit, but there is more of it here. So that's a little bit off-putting here and there, but I still think it's fine, and genuinely, Billie Piper, she does a great performance, as she usually does. Alright, so let's get on to the good and the bad, starting with the good. Ancient writing the TARDIS can't translate. So it's an awesome opening shot when the Doctor and Rose land on this, what seems to be like a space base, and they open all these doors, they see this writing on the wall, and the Doctor's like, this isn't right, the TARDIS should be translating this, but it's not. This is a text that even the TARDIS can't translate for them, which is crazy because the TARDIS is supposed to be able to translate every single language, so there's something weird going on here. And then, they open the door and they find the Ood, and that's kind of the sting for the start of the episodes before the titles. And yeah, it's just, I love it when the Doctor's in this sort of situation, when he can't read this writing, when he always can, the TARDIS translates writing, it translates speech, but here, it doesn't do that, and yeah, I find that really quite exciting and intriguing. From the start, most of the cast is interesting and has good characterization. This is one of the best parts about this two-parter for me. It's the characters. Now, there's two characters in this. I don't even think they get a name. They're literally just Soldier 1 and Soldier 2. The two soldiers that die, one of them dies at the end of Impossible Planet. The other one dies right at the start of the Satan Pit. They don't have any characterization at all. They don't say anything. They don't even get a name drop. They're literally just there to die. So those two, bit disappointing that we don't even get a name mention of them. I mean, the rest of the crew at the beginning, they literally go through every single person. This is what this person does. This is this person's role. This is their name. But they don't even get a mention of the other two, which is a bit disappointing. But the rest of the characters are all very well thought out. They all have their distinct moments. They're very distinct and unique characterization. They're all portrayed really well by the actors and actresses that play them, and generally all of the characters, apart from those two that die, are all really good, really interesting characters. You feel sorry for them when they start to die and things go wrong for them. And yeah, it's really good because of all that. The TARDIS lost to the earthquake, so that was a pretty crazy moment, when the Doctors and Rose are talking about the TARDIS. They're like, yeah, it was in storage cupboard, blah, 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 blah. And then the Doctor realizes, wait, that earthquake you just said that those sections were destroyed, and that's where the TARDIS was. Turns out the TARDIS has been, well, not destroyed, but been lost to the earthquake. The earthquake's fallen, and the TARDIS has fallen into the hole with everything else when the earthquake happened. So now the Doctor and Rose, they're without the TARDIS, and that changes things again. I mean, you've got the whole thing with the text, not being able to read what's going on, not knowing what's going on, and now they don't have the TARDIS to rely back on. So, yeah, it's a pretty crucial moment, that. Toby hearing and being possessed by the Beast, some of the best moments in Doctor Who, in my opinion. the creepy music, the soundtrack for this episode, by the way, is phenomenal. I love the Impossible Planet Satan Pit soundtrack. It's brilliant. The kind of creepy, it's creepy, eerie music that's just really good, especially the stuff that's playing when Toby is in his little room, doing his architect stuff, and he keeps hearing voices behind him. That is a terrifying moment. And then he flips his hands over and he's got the writing all over his hands. He doesn't know what's going on and he passes out on the floor. It's a brilliant scene, and really quite terrifying. The beast possessing the Ood, so that's also crazy. I mean, like I said before, you've got Toby being possessed, so I didn't actually mention the whole possessing thing, but once he has the writing on his hands, he's then possessed by the beast. He ends up killing Scooty, who's the first character to die, the first main character to die, and that's really sad for her to go. We haven't known her for that long, but it's really sad seeing her die. Then the beast decides to possess all the Ood instead, and then all the Ood become possessed. Supposedly, we think that Toby's now unpossessed. Turns out he is still possessed, but he's just not always possessed. Like, now and again it comes back to him. But now the Ood are all possessed and coming to kill everyone. And the Ood are a creepy villain. I think they're a really good villain. They're interesting because they're not actually bad, but something's being put into them to make them bad. And I think that's just it's a really interesting concept in my opinion. Everyone working together on a plan to get to Ood habitation. So they figure out that they have to go to Ood habitation because the Ood are at basic 100, and if they go to Ood habitation, put this little chip in to the computer, it'll basically not kill them, but it'll spark them or something, so that they'll basically be knocked out for a while on basic 0, and then we'll have some time to figure out what we're going to do here and get past them. But they can't get to Ood habitation because there are Ood everywhere around the outside trying to get into the place where they are. So they decide to formulate a plan. All of them, you've got Zach, you've got Rose, you've got Toby, you've got Jeffrey, you've got Jefferson, sorry, and you've got I forgot what his name is now, whatever the IT guy is called, the Ood guy, whatever his name is, I can't remember now. You've got all them working together to formulating a plan. It's just really cool. They decide to go through the air vents, and just that whole scene of just figuring out what they're going to do. Really great characterization, really great teamwork together, and it's just a great scene. Jefferson's death is very sad. So Jefferson is the second main character to die, and his death is really sad. I mean, Scooty's was sad, but we didn't know Scooty as well. We've got to know Jefferson a lot throughout these 2 episodes, and then he dies in the air ducts. Now, to be fair, I don't know why he was kind of sitting back so much. He could have literally sat back behind the gate and he would have been fine and it wouldn't have been a problem. So his death's a little bit silly that way. I mean, I think it was quite easily preventable. But it is very sad when, the door shuts on him, the Ood are coming for him, and he just says to Zach, he says, "Look, I know you can't give me air. Can you make it quicker? Can you get the air out of here quicker? Because I'd rather die by suffocation than by Ood. I think it's a bit more humane." So that's a really sad moment, his death, for sure. The Doctor descending into the pit, that's a crazy moment. You've got him going down into the pit, he's talking to Ida on the kind of talking system, communication system, and then he runs out of cable, so he decides, you know what, there's no backing out now, I'm just going to cut the cable and fall down. And it's a crazy moment just seeing the Doctor fall into nothing, just fall into blackness, and it's like, what is there any hope for him? How is he going to survive a fall like this? It's a crazy moment. And then finally, for the good, the Doctor sending the beast into the black hole. So like I mentioned before, he does this whole speech figuring out what the beast is from all the kind of cave drawings on the walls, and kind of figures it out. I mean, he still doesn't really know. In the end of the episode, he still doesn't really know what the beast was, and in some ways he just doesn't believe, he can't believe what the beast is, because it's totally against what he believes in. But he does generally figure out that, the beast is in this prison cell. The beast itself, it's just a beast. The mind of the beast, which is what is in Toby and what's in the Ood, is free, and basically it's all been formulated in a way that they knew the Doctor was going to be here. If he destroys the those lanterns, which is the Beast's kind of cage, its prison cell, it releases the Beast, but then the planet and everything else, including the rocket ship, go into the black hole. So the Beast dies, and also in that, you know, because Toby is and all the Ood are with are in the rocket, they will all die and everything will die. But the Beast is thinking no, because it doesn't matter if the Beast's body is just sat there and doing nothing. The Doctor cannot risk Rose's life, so he will ultimately not do it. But in the end, he decides to do it, and it works out in the best way for them. And I think it's just a really interesting end. So on to the bad. Really not a lot of bad to talk about here. There's one moment, which is the Doctor landing right next to the TARDIS is a bit convenient. You know how he's running away from all the explosions and that are happening when he destroys the lantern, and then he kind of gets blown backwards with some air or something that comes out of the ground and literally lands right next to the TARDIS. It's a bit convenient, I do agree. I still don't mind it too much because, I mean, you've got to get him back to the TARDIS somehow, but yeah, there's no denying it was rather convenient. Alright, so that is my review of The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. For a rating, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. It is a phenomenal episode. My only real issue is the Doctor landing next to the TARDIS, and it's a bit of a nitpick, but yeah, it is quite convenient, but that's not enough to, you know, set this down at all. With all the good stuff that there is here, I know a lot of people have issues with the look of the Beast, how it's just a bit of a CGI silly monster, but honestly, personally, I don't think the CGI's aged that terribly. Yes, if it was done nowadays, it would look better, but this is almost 15 years ago, so you've got to take it as it is, you know. I really don't think it's that bad, all things considered. But generally, the whole episode, the characters are all interesting. The Ood, it's an awesome first appearance of the Ood. I think they work really good as a bit of a different sort of villain here. The Beast ultimately works as a cool villain as well. I think all the characters, main cast and guest cast, are all on top form. And yeah, it's easily a 10 out of 10 for me. So let's go and see what episode we'll be reviewing next time. Alright, so here we have it, the TARDIS of episodes. What will we be picking out today? Let's give it a good old shake. Open it up. If I can even do that. Reach your hand in there, give it a little shake around, and I've got one right here. So, our next episode that we'll be reviewing is Twice Upon a Time. Okay. Twice Upon a Time, an episode that I have actually reviewed before, but I've decided to do it again because I reviewed it when it came out initially, and that review's definitely not up to standards now, so I will be reviewing this again. So Twice Upon a Time, the first Christmas episode that I've reviewed, that I'm going to have reviewed in this kind of new series of reviewing. So yeah, there we go, that will be our next new series review in a few weeks' time. So, Capaldi's final episode. So, yeah, definitely an interesting one to look at there with Twice Upon a Time. So, that is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.